أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. Today inshallah we'll touch upon the themes from chapter 10 Surah Yunus, Jonah. That's Allah's prophet Yunus. Now the surah revolves around the belief in Qadar, in the predestination, in the divine acts. Why does Allah do what He does, and how do we understand it? Because this is an area that a lot of people have issues with. I'm talking about non-believers or casual believers. They see events around them and they get confused. Why is Allah guiding this person, and why is Allah not guiding this person, even though that person is trying? And they have these confusion and these questions, and the surah addresses some of these topics, because the belief in Qadar is the last pillar of Iman. It's part of what we believe in, that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala predestines things, and He arranges things to a wisdom that we may realize or we may not realize, but we know that He is the creator and He does things the way He wants. Now, for people that usually ask this question, why does Allah do X, Y, Z? That just the fact that they have that question in their mind shows a weakness in faith, because a believer who believes in Allah will not ask these questions. A believer knows that Allah is just, Allah is Hakim, is wise, Allah is, all the beautiful attributes of Allah, and Allah does whatever He wants. So we don't ask, because whatever Allah does is for the benefit of a believer, and it is His own choice. He does whatever He wants. We cannot question what He does. But we can be sure that Allah is Hakim. And when we had the session on the name Al-Hakim, Hakim is the wise person who does the right thing at the right time in the right proportion to get the best results. I mean, that's what Hakim is. And Allah is Ahkamul Hakimin. So He is Al-Hakim. So the surah begins with Alif Lam Ra Tilka Ayatul Kitab Al-Hakim. Now Allah is a Hakim and His words are hikmah. So the Quran is full of wisdom. It's a wise book. And the surah starts with a question, with an amazement. أكان للناس عجبا أن أوحينا إلى رجل منهم أن أنذر الناس وبشر الذين آمنوا أن لهم قدم صدق عند ربهم قال الكافرون إن هذا لساحر مبين. Have the people been amazed that we revealed revelation to a man from among them, saying, warn mankind and give good tidings to those who believe that they will have a firm precedence of honor with their Lord. But the disbelievers say, indeed, this is an obvious magician. So the surah answers this amazement of these people, that they're amazed that Allah would send a messenger, to guide them. The counter amazement is mentioned later in verse, I think, 21. We'll talk about that. But Allah's decree is not strange. Their actions and their amazement is what is strange. So the belief that the message was sent to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is integral into our belief in Qadar, that Allah does whatever He wants, and Allah guides, through His revelation. With complete wisdom. And then the verses start going with mentioning some of Allah's signs. The sun, the moon, the night and day, perfect planning and complete justice. So all of these start establishing that the question that you're asking is about a powerful God that is powerful and wise. And nothing in His the word haqq appears 23 times in the surah, and it's the most mentioned in any surah, to reinforce the theme of wisdom and justice in creation and divine decree. Now haqq, we said, it's the truth, and haqq is opposite of play. That means everything has a purpose. And when Allah does things, He does it with a purpose, not just in vain. So that's the property of haqq. The opposite of haqq is batil. So nothing happens in Allah's dominion without His leave and without Him, planning it and doing it. So we have faith in Allah and we don't object to His acts, whether we perceive they are, no matter how we perceive them. Whatever Allah does is the wisest action, and it's the action of a wise God. So the amazement, also before that, a lot of the disposing of affair, yudabbiru al-amr, is mentioned many times in the surah, that Allah disposes all affairs. He is in control of everything that happens. So there is no chance, there is no a stray bullet, there is no accidents. Everything is planned and everything is arranged by His decree. So the divine justice in verse 44, Allah says, Inna Allah la yadlimu an-nasa shay'an walakinna an-nasa anfusahum yadlimun. Indeed, Allah does not wrong the people at all, but it is the people who are wronging themselves. So it is clear for a believer that we're not going to have questions as why does Allah do this and why did Allah do this. We're not going to have these questions because Allah does not do injustice on anyone. We bring on problems to ourselves. Allah does not do it just for that sake. So Allah will never treat anyone unjustly, never. And and then the reply to the amazement that appeared in verse 2 appears in verse 22. هو الذي يسيركم في البر والبحر. And the verse goes حتى إذا كنتم في الفلك وجرين بهم بريح طيبة وفرحوا بها جاءتها ريح عاصف وجاءهم الموج من كل مكان وظنوا أنهم أحيط بهم دعوا الله مخلصين له الدين لأن أنجيتنا من هذه لنكونن من الشاكرين. So in verse 22 Allah is giving us the example of people who rode in a boat and then they were in the sea. And then the sea was nice and calm, and then all of a sudden storms come, and the waves are coming from everywhere, and they thought they were going to die. So at that moment they called on Allah, save us, and we will be thankful. That's typical, even non-believers, they will find Allah in that situation, and they will make all kinds of promises. And then in verse 23, the amazement is فَلَمَّا أَنْجَاهُمْ إِذَا هُمْ يَبْغُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ بِغَيْرِ الْحَقِّ. When Allah saved them and sent them safely to the land, then they commit injustice upon the earth without right. And that's the amazement. The amazement is not that Allah would send a messenger to guide people. The amazement is when Allah saves you and then you repay that favor with injustice and disbelief. That's the amazement. So the surah talks about some of the stories of the prophets and how they trusted in Allah's disposing of the affairs. So Prophet Nuh, the story of Prophet Nuh appeared here in verse 71. وَاتْلُ عَلَيْهِمْ نَبَأَ نُوحٍ إِذْ قَالَ لِقَوْمِهِ يَا قَوْمِ إِنْ كَانَ كَبُرَ عَلَيْكُمْ مَقَامِي وَتَذْكِيرِي بِآيَاتِ اللَّهِ فَعَلَى اللَّهِ تَوَكَّلْتُ فَأَجْمِعُوا أَمْرَكُمْ وَشُرَكَاءَكُمْ ثُمَّ لَا يَكُنْ أَمْرُكُمْ عَلَيْكُمْ غُمَّةً ثُمَّ اقْضُوا إِلَيَّ وَلَا تُنْظِرُونَ. And recite to them the news of Noah when he said to his people, O my people, if my residence and my reminding of the signs of Allah have become burdensome upon you. So he's challenging them. So if you're getting tired of me calling you to Allah, then I have relied upon Allah. So resolve upon your plan and call upon your associates. Get all your helpers and do whatever you want. You cannot touch me. That's the challenge. That's the behavior of the Prophet of Allah who trusts in Allah and that Allah owns everything and he disposes all affairs. So he has nothing to worry about. He's not going to be, afraid of these people. And then it says, carry out upon me and do not give me any respite. Don't get, go ahead, do whatever you want to do. You won't be able to do. Allah drowned them. And for Moses, وَقَالَ مُوسَى يَا قَوْمِ إِن كُنتُمْ آمَنْتُمْ بِاللَّهِ فَعَلَيْهِ تَوَكَّلُوا إِن كُنتُمْ مُسْلِمِينَ. And Moses said, O my people, if you have believed in Allah, then rely upon Him if you should be Muslims. Because Allah will never treat anyone with injustice. So we should have trust in Allah and get the peace of mind. That whatever happens with the wisdom of Allah and to our benefits. We may perceive it that way, we may not, but it's to our benefit always because Allah is wise and Allah, does what He wants. Now, the last two examples that are mentioned in the surah, one of them is the name of the surah, which is Surah Yunus. It's talking about two examples when Allah's Qadar, when Allah's divine orders was coming, His punishment was coming, to two people, to Pharaoh and to the people of Yunus. So both of these groups exhibited similar behavior. They rejected the message of their prophet. They did not believe in their prophet. They committed injustice and corruption on earth, and Allah's punishment was heading towards them. And they both said, we believe when they saw the punishment. But with Pharaoh, when he saw the punishment and he was getting, he was drowning, he says, now I believe. آمنت أنه لا إله إلا الذي آمنت به بنو إسرائيل وأنا من المسلمين. This is in verse 90. Now, as he was drowning, I believe, and he didn't say I believe in Allah. I believe in the God of the Israelites. Now, and Allah's question comes in the following verse. الآن وقد عصيت قبل وكنت من المفسدين. Now you believe, and you had disobeyed Him before, and you were of the corruptors. So Pharaoh and his troops drowned. But the people of Yunus, in verse 98, فَلَوْلَا كَانَتْ قَرْيَةٌ آمَنَتْ فَنَفَعَهَا إِيمَانُهَا إِلَّا قَوْمَ يُونُس لَمَّا آمَنُوا كَشَفْنَا عَنْهُمْ عَذَابَ الْخِزْيِ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَمَتَّعْنَاهُمْ إِلَى حِينٍ. Now, the people of Yunus, when the verse 98 says, there has not been a single city that believed, so its faith benefited. That means it's the only city that disobeyed Allah, and Allah did, pulled the punishment back. They were the only one that happened to, except the people of Noah. When they believed, we removed from them the punishment of disgrace in worldly life and gave them enjoyment for a time. The cloud of punishment was coming. They were making fun of Prophet Yunus, and Prophet Yunus gave up too early and left. So they were, having fun, and then they saw the punishment coming, and they was like, wait a minute, this is what our prophet was warning us. And then they believed at that moment, they pleaded to Allah, and for them, Allah pulled back the punishment and gave them a second chance. And their prophet came back to them, and they were good believers. So the question arises, why two groups that exhibited the same behavior, one Allah destroyed and one Allah gave another chance? Now, we don't know the wisdom in Allah's planning. He does whatever He wants. Perhaps He knew that Pharaoh, even if he saved them, he's going to come back and going to be worse. Because Pharaoh, he had so many signs, and each sign was bigger than the next sign, and he disbelieved on all of them. I mean, the sea parting, and you're chasing the Israelites, you want to kill them through Allah's miracle, and you still don't believe. I mean, there is. I mean, for people like that, it doesn't. Perhaps Allah knows that no matter how many chances He gives them, they're not going to believe, so He destroys them. But the people of Yunus, and perhaps because their prophet gave up on them too easily. Because the story of Prophet Yunus, Allah sent them to guide the town, and they rejected him, so he left them and wanted to go somewhere else. And that's when he rowed the boat, and he fell into the sea, and the whale swallowed him, and the whole thing. So perhaps because their prophet did not spend enough time with them, maybe Allah wanted to give them another chance. And subhanallah, they were good believers, and they finished their life on Iman. So we don't know why Allah does what He does, but what we know is He is wise, He is just, and He does whatever He wants. So that's what the surah wants to enforce. And then the end of the surah is a great instructions from Allah. In verse 105, وَأَنْ أَقِمْ وَجْهَكَ لِلدِّينِ حَنِيفًا وَلَا تَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ, and commanded, direct your face toward the religion, inclining to truth, and never be of those who associate others with Allah. So Tawheed is the first thing that Allah is recommending for us. وَلَا تَدْعُ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ مَا لَا يَنفَعُكَ وَلَا يَضُرُّكَ فَإِنْ فَعَلْتَ فَإِنَّكَ إِذًا مِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ. Verse 106, and do not invoke besides Allah that which neither benefits you nor harms you, because all the benefit comes from Allah. No one can benefit anyone without Allah's leave, and without His plan, and without Him willing it. And if you did, you would be of the wrongdoers. In verse 107, وَإِنْ يَمْسَسْكَ اللَّهُ بِضُرٍّ فَلَا كَاشِفَ لَهُ إِلَّا هُ. And if Allah should touch you with adversity, there is no remover of it except Him. وَإِنْ يُرِدْكَ بِخَيْرٍ فَلَا رَادَّ لِفَضْلِهِ. And if He wants to give you good, nobody can prevent that good from reaching you. يُصِيبُ بِهِ مَن يَشَاءُ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ وَهُوَ الْغَفُورُ الرَّحِيمُ. He causes it to reach whom He wills of His servants, and He is the forgiving, the merciful. All the power is with Allah. All the benefit, everything that happens to you comes from Allah, and comes from His decree, and comes from His planning, and that is what He chose for you. So our behavior is we should accept it and thank Him, and be, because we know it's for our own good, whether we perceive it or not. And then the last two verses, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ قَدْ جَاءَكُمُ الْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّكُمْ فَمَنِ اهْتَدَى فَإِنَّمَا يَهْتَدِي لِنَفْسِهِ وَمَنْ ضَلَّ فَإِنَّمَا يَضِلُّ عَلَيْهَا وَمَا أَنَا عَلَيْكُمْ بِوَكِيلٍ. Say, O mankind, the truth has come to you from your Lord. So whoever is guided is only guided for the benefit of his soul. And whoever goes astray only goes astray in violation against it. And I am not over you a manager. And in last verse, وَاتَّبِعْ مَا يُوحَى إِلَيْكَ وَاصْبِرْ حَتَّى يَحْكُمَ اللَّهُ وَهُوَ خَيْرُ الْحَاكِمِينَ. And follow what is revealed to you, O Muhammad, and be patient until Allah will judge, and He is the best of judges. So again, we don't know the wisdom of the divine actions, but we know Allah is wise, and Allah is powerful, and Allah is good, and Allah is the truth. So we know His actions, بِيَدِكَ الْخَيْرِ. All of His actions, whether He raises or lowers or humiliates or honors, بِيَدِكَ الْخَيْرِ. Only good is in His hands, and only good results from His action. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وارنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وارنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه واجعلنا ممن يستمعون القول فيتبعون احسنه وادخلنا برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك. السلام عليكم ورحمه الله.